My family wants to reconnect after 6 years. Okay, so this is a long story and English isn't my first language, so please be patient with me. I'm using fake names here. I'm a 45-year-old guy named Mike. I was married to my high school sweetheart, Sarah, who's also 45. We had 4 daughters together: Jane, who is 24, Tori, who is 22, Brianna, who is 21, and Claire, who is 18. Sarah and I met when we were both just 14 years old. We started dating right away. My parents loved Sarah from the very beginning. She became like the daughter they never had, and they treated her like part of the family. I remember my dad sitting me down and giving me advice about relationships. He would say things like, always have good communication with each other and think before you make any big decisions. It was good advice that I tried to follow. Sarah and I were together for 7 years, dating all through high school and even after we graduated. Then, one day, we found out that she was pregnant with our first daughter, Jane. We were both over the moon with happiness. We decided to get married soon after finding out about the pregnancy, and we went on to have a beautiful family together. However, there was one big problem during all this happiness: my younger brother, Jack, who is 43 now. Jack had always had a crush on Sarah, even when we were in high school. This crush of his caused some tension between us. It was really hard for me because I loved my brother, but I also loved Sarah, and I didn't want anything to come between us. I tried to let it go because Jack was my brother, and Sarah had reassured me many times that she didn't have any feelings for him. But things got really bad when Jack found out that Sarah and I were engaged. Instead of being happy for us, he confessed his love for Sarah and tried to convince her to leave me for him. Sarah, being the wonderful person she is, told me everything. She didn't hide anything from me, and she made it clear that she had no interest in Jack. She loved me and wanted to be with me. When I found out what Jack had done, I was furious. I felt betrayed and hurt. I was ready to confront him and even fight him if I had to. I didn't want him to ruin my happiness with Sarah. I was also ready to cut Jack out of my life completely because I couldn't trust him anymore. But Sarah, being the peacemaker, asked me not to do anything rash. She didn't want to see our family torn apart because of Jack's actions. So I listened to Sarah and tried to move past it. It was really hard, but I wanted to do what was best for our family. Over the years, Sarah and I focused on raising our daughters and building a life together. We faced many challenges, but we always stuck together and supported each other through everything. It took a lot of convincing from Sarah, my parents, my dad, who's 68, and my mom, who's 66, to stop me from cutting my brother, Jack, out of my life. My marriage with Sarah was amazing. Like any other couple, we had our ups and downs, but I wouldn't change anything about it. We were a passionate couple who loved each other and our children more than anything. My relationship with Jack got better after the incident, and I truly believed he had gotten over his crush on Sarah. But I was wrong. Jack still had a crush on Sarah and was planning to break us up. One day, more than 6 years ago, I came home after being away for a week because of work. When I walked in, I found my daughters, my wife, and my brother all in the living room. Sarah and my daughters were crying, and when they saw me, they started screaming at me. Sarah looked at me and asked, "How could you do this to me?" I was confused and asked what she meant. She said, "Cheating." I was shocked. In the 25 years we'd been together, I had never cheated on her. I asked what made her think I had cheated, and she showed me some pictures and texts that supposedly proved I had cheated with a coworker. I asked her where she got this information. My brother Jack jumped in and said that this coworker, who was also his friend, had confessed to him and sent him the proof. I started crying and begged Sarah to believe me. I told her that this was all Jack's doing, but she didn't believe me. She slapped me in the face and kicked me out of the house. Before I left, I was heartbroken and didn't know what to do. I couldn't believe Jack would go this far to try to break up my family. I had to leave, but I was determined to prove my innocence and get my family back. Jane and Tori called me all kinds of hurtful names. The one that hurt the most was when they said, "You are a disgrace to our family." I tried for a long time to make Sarah and the girls see reason. I wanted them to understand that I would never cheat on them. But sadly, it was all in vain. My parents disowned me, and my dad said that if I were a real man, I would make the divorce easy and quick before the end of the year. Eventually, Sarah and I got divorced, and my daughters didn't want to see me anymore. At the beginning of 2017, Sarah married Jack. My daughters sent me a message saying they hated me and didn't want anything to do with me. They said they had a new father figure in their lives now. It was incredibly hard, but with a lot of therapy, I learned to move on. I always held hope that my family would find out the truth, but I learned to live with the possibility that they never would. 5 years went by without any contact with anyone from my family. Then a few days ago, I received a call from an unknown number. When I picked up, I said, "Hello? Who is this?" and I heard sobs from the other side. It was my mom. She said that they were sorry and wanted to meet with me. I asked why, and my mom said that my family had found out the truth about everything, but she said this was a matter to be discussed in person. I told my mom that when or if I felt ready to meet them, I would call her. I didn't want to be contacted by anyone until I said something back. She told me she understood and that she missed me. We said our goodbyes, but to be honest, I still don't know what I should do. Now, for the top of comments before reading the update, I'm so sorry. There was a similar post where the sister dragged her, then accused her of cheating Iran to her engagement, and her family kicked her out. It's amazing the lengths the people will go to because of jealousy. What your brother did was evil. If there really is proof of what he did, I hope he can be sued for emotional distress and parental alienation. I can't imagine the damage he's done to your daughters. I would also have your daughter's DNA tested in case there's more to this than just a setup by your brother. I can't imagine how devastating this whole ordeal must have been for you. It really says a lot about your character that you were able to keep your wits about you throughout all of this. I have an underhanded brother myself who just can't allow me to be happy no matter how small a win I get. But he hasn't done anything this massive to me yet. Whatever you decide to do, I am sure you'll choose wisely. The sad part is that my brother was never like this. I truly believed he was happy for me and had moved on knowing he plotted against me. This way it still hurts. I agree with the others. Please only meet with them on the condition that they'll be cutting your brother off. I'm sorry you were framed like this. It takes a certain kind of evilness and jealousy to do this to a family member. Whether or not you decide to meet with them should be entirely up to you. Whatever the case, I hope you're able to find closure at least and heal from this. Wow. I think if it was me, I wouldn't go back. I wouldn't choose a family. They didn't choose me. And if my husband got married and if my sister, I wouldn't even want to touch him anymore. The fact that she really knew he had a crush on her but still chose to believe him instead of you just shows how little trust and love she had for you to just throw it away like that and not even marry out of the family. But in the family with the initial brother who tried to tell her to leave before the wedding. Is she stupid? Can't be that naive, right? I'm sorry you're going through this. All the best and hoping for an update. And now for the updates. Update 1. A few people have asked me for an update, so here it is. So I arrived at my parents' Saturday morning and rang the door and my mom opened. She started crying and hugged me. It was a bit awkward for me. My dad gave me a handshake and I got in. My mom started trying to make small talk. She asked me how I was. She then commented that I looked way better and that I lost weight. I replied, "When you're depressed, you forget to eat." I then asked how they found out. My mom said that Jack was drunk and had an argument with Sarah and something like, "I didn't plan all this so that I would take your shit." Sarah then forced him to confess. Sarah: My daughters wanted to contact me, but my mom said it would be better if it just was her that contacted me. I started laughing. My dad was a little mad and asked me, "What's so funny?" I said that my brother probably spent years trying to separate me and Sarah, and it all blew up. All I had to do was be quiet, and he could continue with his beautiful life. I then asked my parents if they could imagine how would their lives be if they and Sarah didn't try to convince to forgive my brother after he tried to convince Sarah to run with him. My dad started crying. It was the first time in my 45 years of life that I'd seen my old man crying. He started to apologize, saying he was an awful father, but that he, my mom, Sarah, my daughters, were all sorry I was not able to cry. And I told them that I would love to reconcile, but it would take time. My mom asked me if she could give the green light to Sarah to contact me, and I said yes. He then asked more about my life as they wanted to know how I was doing. Overall, it was better than I expected. The next day, Sarah sent me a message and asked me if she could call me. I replied a few hours later that she could not. Even 5 minutes later, she called me. She asked me how I was. I told her that given the circumstances, it could be worse. I asked how she and her daughters were, and she said that they're not so good. After my brother confessed, Sarah, my daughters felt remorseful and kicked my brother out. I answer a few questions. Why did she marry Jack so quickly? And how come she didn't believe me? She started crying. She said that during and after our divorce, my brother had been her rock. Sarah said that they eventually started dating, and they got married because. And I was shocked to hear this. She got pregnant. I was taken aback when I heard it. I asked if she could repeat it, and she did. I told her that I needed time. I warned that the chances of us getting back together are not looking good, and I didn't want her to have false hopes. She cried a bit more, but said that she understood. She ended the conversation with, "I love you. I just said goodbye." Update 2. My mom was the bridge of communication between me and my daughters. I messaged her that I wanted to meet my daughters in a public place, and she recommended a park. And we met yesterday. When I got there, my daughters had already arrived. I only had a few seconds to process seeing them for the first time in more than half of a decade. Because Jane, my 24-year-old, jumped on me. She was crying and kept saying she was sorry and asked me to. Don't hate them. We stayed, hugged for a few minutes. It seemed like she didn't want to let me go. It took Claire, my 18-year-old, to take Jane off of me. Tori, my 22-year-old, asked me how I was. I looked at her for a few seconds. I still was surprised to see how much she had grown in the last few years. But I also kind of saw the last 6 years flashing through my eyes. For a while after the divorce, I just looked at pictures of me, Sarah, and the girls together, and remembering the good old days, and started wondering if living was still worth it. After a few seconds, I told Tori that I had gotten a cat. I said that he was a great cat, my best friend, and if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be here speaking to her. As soon as I said this, all my daughters started crying. I was looking at them, crying on the inside, but somehow still able to maintain my posture. They all said that they were sorry for not believing me and begged me to forgive them. I told them that I loved them more than anything, but it would take me time to truly forgive them, and that they would have to show me by their actions and not their words how sorry they were. I noticed Jane was wearing a ring. I asked her about it. She told me that she had gotten married to her longtime boyfriend 2 years ago. At this point, I was about to burst into tears knowing that I had missed my daughter's wedding. I just asked if he walked down the aisle, and she quietly said yes. I just couldn't do it anymore and started crying my heart out. I had to sit down that a hole stole everything that I held dear and robbed me of one of the moments I was longing the most for walking my daughter down the aisle. I was ugly, crying, and I could tell that Jane was sad as well. I told her that I would get over it and not to worry about it. She just hugged me again silently. We stayed like that for what seemed a long time. After we broke off the hug, Jane said that she was sorry, once again. I told my daughters that I needed a few days, but I would love to go on family therapy with them, and they agreed. Me and my daughters are catching up about each other's lives, and it felt good to have a normal conversation with them. They gave me their phone numbers. We sent her goodbyes, and I hugged every single one of them tightly, for a long time. Update 3. I would like to start by thanking everyone for their support. A user has been messaging me, and his input on my situation has been very helpful. I explained to him that Jack was always praised by our parents due to his grades and was somewhat always competitive. This user believed that my brother could be a narcissist and saw Sarah and my daughters as trophies. Me and my daughters attended therapy last Saturday. I got in first and explained to the therapist my concerns about Jack being a narcissist. She told me my concerns could be right, but it was not certain. My therapy session was a bit emotional, but good. I started by explaining how I felt during all this time, how many nights I cried missing Sarah and the girls, how I had nightmares, and how hard it all was for me. My daughters did talk, but it was not easy to understand their words. They were crying the whole time, and it got worse as time went by to the point that I had to calm them down and reassure that I was not mad at them. The session ended, and we will attend our second session next Friday. Although I still don't know what will happen, I'm hopeful I can rebuild my relationship with my girls. I also had dinner with my daughters on Tuesday. It went good, and they had the chance to meet my cat, and they brought a copy of pictures of us. It was a nice gift. Story 2. Wife, she added while on work trip. I never expected this from her. My wife, 39, female, and I, 43, male, have been together for 11 years, married for 6. We have a toddler. 5 days ago, I learned of a month-long EEA between my wife and a coworker of hers, and that they had spent time in her hotel room while on a work trip 2 weeks prior. And that time together included a good amount of kissing. I learned this by the affair. Partners' wives, mother, the affair partners. Mother-in-law messaging me on Facebook with 15 screenshots of their Instagram conversation that occurred during that work trip, including comments between the two of them reminiscing about their chair time, along with loads of kissy face emojis and other flirtatious banter. When I read the mother-in-law's initial Facebook message, I was shaking, heart-racing, tunnel-visioned my wife was upstairs. So when she came down, I immediately asked if anything happened during the work trip that I should know about. I learned here that the term is known as trickle truth. Denials of anything that happened was the response. Eventually, after 10 minutes, she finally admitted to getting drunk at the hotel bar and making out with him in her room. I asked her point blank if she slept with him, or if anything sexual happened. Her response was a resounding no. She proceeded to tell me that there was no sexual touching, no hands-up shirts, no parts exposed, no feeling up, no erections felt, just kissing for an extended period of time while sitting in a chair. This is what she's told me multiple times. Well, it started at the doorway with him initiating. Then they went to the chair. She ended up getting sick and spent time on the floor, bathroom, and on the bed while he lay on the other side of the king-size bed until 6:30 a.m. the next night on their work trip in a different town. It was a two-night thing. He spent time in her hotel room until 10 p.m. or so. The text message there was him asking if she could use company, and her response was something like, "You can join," and she was watching TV. Some kissing also occurred that night while she was sober. My wife has had an alcohol problem for many years and had been sober for almost 6 years before this work trip. She and I had a discussion about her desire to bring alcohol back into her life on a very limited basis during date nights or going away with me. Also included discussion about her having beverages with her work peers when they go on these quarterly trips. I obviously disagreed with the suggestion, as did almost everyone in the alcoholism sub, but she did it anyway. She lied to me about how much she had to drink that night and ended up telling me that she had multiple drinks, including 2 shots of the hotel bar with her work peers. So after 6 years, this is the first time that she was drunk. And then, this happens. Back to the EA, I learned that the flirting banter and whatever else has been going on since early October, so I'm told. I asked my wife why she did what she did. If, as she says, our marriage is solid, and yeah, it is. We have a child together. We don't really argue about anything, and we have a good home life. Our intimacy has dwindled since having her child 2 years ago. But the bedroom isn't dead, after some time for her to really think about her actions. The response that I got was that it was the excitement, the newness, and the feeling of being desired along with him just being a great work friend. After more deeper discussions around this line of thinking, she mentioned that it likely would never have gotten sexual. I had asked multiple times how far this would have gone if I and the AP spouse had not learned of this. She concluded that what she enjoyed from it was having him crawl out of his skin, as she puts it, basically obtaining some pleasure over being desirable and wanted. That would likely never resolved by a sexual relationship. She explained to me repeatedly that she does not feel any romantic or intimate feelings for this guy and that it just happened. She admitted it was selfish and wrong. I told her what hurt me the most was the betrayal and the secrecy. I had so much anxiety and lost sleep when she went on her work trip because of her flawed relationship with alcohol. And little did I know that that was the least of my worries. "You just have to trust me, babe," was a text that I was sent the morning after. When I asked her about how much she had to drink the previous night, I never would have expected her to do this, though. Regarding the affair partner and his wife, I learned that this isn't the first time he's done this in his 7 years of marriage, and that she did go through his Instagram chats on another device. Actually seeing the combos live as they occurred, because she had an inkling something would happen while he was away for his work trip. I've been in contact with her through text, and she has a very pleasant but hurt woman who will likely file for divorce. It's obvious, though, that he just doesn't care what hurt he causes her, or what he has allowed to cause others. So for me, I have very conflicting feelings about her short-lived affair, and what may come out of this. Since the D-Day, I felt extreme hurt, then anger, then forgiving, then anger again. And at times when I feel fine, I'm afraid I'm coming off as a pushover for showing my wife that she can get away with this again. There will be traveling again come January, and I don't know what to do about that. Anyway, this incident has triggered some real deep and open discussions with my wife about desire, intimacy, and what she and I want. It first started with me trying to understand what she was seeking or what she felt was missing from her life, and if there was anything we could do together to bring some excitement or feeling of newness into our marriage without the secrecy and betrayal. We aren't explicitly talking about opening the marriage, but she has expressed that she would be fine and would encourage me to have a person at work I could banter with and potentially kiss. I don't know. It's weird to me right now. Is this her way of giving me a pass? Or even saying that she wants an open marriage but doesn't want to really admit it yet to me? Or herself? Divorce right now is not on the table. And I know an open marriage with boundaries of some sort really isn't the best solution for something like this. And I realize that shouldn't even be discussed or even considered unless the marriage is truly solid. Thanks for reading my disorganized thoughts. Your input is welcome. Now for some additional comments. She's offering you a pass because they definitely had sex and probably have been in full-blown affair for much longer than just that trip. Open marriages that open because of infidelity do not work. You need to stand up for yourself and set boundaries in place for how recovery should take place. There is 0% chance that this is just an emotional affair and some kissing. Don't kid yourself. You don't have a month-long affair as adults and not sleep together, let alone when you're on a work trip. Her getting sick is as believable as other cheaters, saying the guy couldn't get it up, or that they realized what was going on moments before that they had sex, etc. She's telling you the bare minimum and sugarcoating the truth. It's obvious you're just too invested to see it. It's probably why she's suggesting an open relationship. She probably feels guilty and thinks this would lessen her betrayal. Leaving is easier if you stay together. Don't open things up. It's nearly as bad as having a baby to save the marriage. Sure, you'll get a confidence boost, but the problem was never with other women. It's her. Eventually, after 10 minutes, she finally admitted to getting drunk at the hotel bar and making out with him in her room. I asked her point blank if she slept with him or if anything sexual happened. The response was a resounding no. She proceeded to tell me that there was no sexual touching, no hands up shirts, no parts exposed, no feeling up, no erections felt, just kissing for an extended period of time while sitting in a chair. Teenagers kiss adult screw, especially with a serial cheater. Involve the affair partner multiple affairs according to his boss, and he's going to be satisfied with just kissing. Highly doubtful. I'd bet real money. The trickle of truth isn't exhausted. We aren't explicitly talking about opening the marriage, but she has expressed that she would be fine and would encourage me to have a person at work I could banter with and potentially kiss. I don't know. It's weird to me right now. Is this her way of giving me a pass or even saying that she wants an open marriage, but doesn't want to really admit it yet to me or herself? This is her hoping that you take up the offer to sewage, her guilt for already doing so. It also further confirms to me that they had sex. Check your cell phone records to find out the frequency which they communicated over voice and text. Those records can't be faked or deleted, but you won't get content. I'd be very surprised if it isn't much greater than she's admitting to. Story 3. Am I the a-hole for refusing to help my wife's family anymore? I, 34M, got married 9 years ago to my wife Jessica, 33F. Jessica and I have 2 children, Robin, 7F, and Theo, 5M. Growing up, I didn't have a family. I was a foster kid who was bounced around a lot because sometimes my bio mother would take me back, but she'd always end up losing custody again or placing me back. When she finally stopped trying, I was 11 and too old for most people who wanted babies or really little kids. So I aged out of the system without being adopted or finding a family. I'd hoped when Jessica and I met that I'd be welcomed by her family, but that's not how it went. Took me years to figure it out, though. They look down on me. They're not totally obvious about it, but I see it in the way they are with me versus the way they're with the other sons' daughters-in-law. Like asking them about Christmas plans, but saying they didn't expect us to do anything else because I don't have a family. Or asking about the others' jobs and promotions, but never me. Then acting so shocked both times Jessica or I mentioned I was promoted. There was a time when my CIL mentioned a foster kid who won a scholarship to college, and it made it into the local news. The whole family's reaction was, "Oh wow, a foster kid making it to college is so unexpected." And Jessica pointed out I went to college. They looked a little uncomfortable, and I heard 2 of her siblings whisper something about Jessica in that story, so I assumed they believed she lied about where we met. They don't make an effort for my birthday. They make assumptions that I don't spend time with my kids. They assume any effort made by me is me doing it for Jessica, and don't believe me when I say it's not. Yet they will always ask for my help with repairs around the house or assembling something, because I'm good at that stuff. I have helped Jessica's parents and all her siblings at least twice. Once I realized, with help from therapy, that they really didn't like me and seemed to think less of me for being a foster kid, I did that stuff for Jessica and not for them. But then, a few weeks ago, Jessica's parents had issues with the stairs. I went and fixed them up. I was hours working on one part and had to go and get extra materials. It was a whole thing. Some of the family came over while I was there and Jessica's parents made food for them, but nothing for me. When I asked them if there was any for me, they told me they didn't think I'd want to eat after working so hard, for hours, with no food in between. I told them they didn't think that. They simply didn't want to be polite to me and offer food after doing all that work for them. I was called out by Jessica's parents and her siblings. Jessica took my side, as did some of the siblings' spouses. But I was called out again for not helping fix a shelf for one of Jessica's sisters, and saying never again would I help any of them. They said family helps family. I asked them when they ever treat me like family. Am I the a-hole? Fiance forgot to hang up and I heard everything they said about me. So here's the full story. I'm a 25-year-old woman, and up until last week, I was all set to get married. But things took a huge turn, and I ended up running away the night before the big day. My boyfriend, who's also 25, and I had been together for 3 years, and we were engaged for 6 months of that time. Together, we have 2 kids, twin boys who are just a year old. Having them wasn't something we planned, and initially, my boyfriend really didn't want to go through with the pregnancy. But I've always known I wanted to be a mom. I felt that maternal pull strongly, and when we found out about the twins, it just felt like the right time for me, even if it wasn't perfect timing. So I stood my ground. I told him that I was having our babies whether he was on board or not. I even said he could walk away if he wanted to, and I wouldn't chase him for child support. I was determined to raise my children on my own if I had to. However, he did need some time to wrap his head around everything. When I told him I was ready to end our relationship if he kept pushing me to not have our baby, that's when he started to come around. During my pregnancy, he was really supportive, and after our boys were born, he stepped up as a dad. I'll admit, having twins was a lot more than I bargained for. And looking back, I'm not sure I could have managed without him. So, in a way, I was grateful he stayed. Fast forward 6 months, he proposed, and I said yes. It felt like we'd moved past his initial reluctance about becoming a dad. He was so involved and caring that it seemed like his earlier resistance had never happened. I guess becoming a mom softened me a bit too, and I was ready to let bygones be bygones and start this new chapter with him. After all, we'd been through a lot together already. 3 years of a relationship and a pretty intense pregnancy. We spent months planning our wedding, and I was genuinely happy. My parents were over the moon too because they really liked my ex. He'd always been the perfect guy in their eyes. Everything was going smoothly, and it felt like all the pieces were falling into place. But then, just one night before we were supposed to get married, everything fell apart. I still can't wrap my head around how a single phone call could end a relationship that had lasted for 3 years, but it did. That call made me realize that marrying him would have been a huge mistake. The day before our wedding, following tradition, my ex and I were staying in separate places. So there I was, in our place, just hanging out after dinner, while my boyfriend was at his family's house not too far away. We had this sweet phone call where he was all lovey-dovey, telling me how much he loved me and how pumped he was about us getting married soon. That call really got me feeling all the feels, and we had this nice emotional exchange before saying bye to each other. But then, he didn't end the call properly. You know, sometimes you think you've hung up, but you haven't really pressed the button hard enough. Yeah, that's what happened. So, because he didn't hang up right, I could still hear what was going on his end. His dad started talking to him, asking him if he was chatting with me. I got a bit nosy and decided to listen in, just to see what they were talking about. And boy, what I heard next was something straight out of a drama movie. It's been a whole week and I still can't stop thinking about it. His dad asked him if he was still feeling the same way he did a couple of days back, and my ex was like, yeah. Then his mom joined the convo, and she was all about pushing him to just suck it up and get married, no matter what he was feeling. My ex got a bit heated and tried to stand up for himself, saying he should be able to make his own choices and that they shouldn't be able to push him around like that. But then his dad dropped a bombshell. He was like, look, we can't force you to marry someone you don't love, but what we can do is cut you out of the will if you don't. So basically, my ex was stuck between a rock and a hard place. Get married or get nothing. His mom then went on this whole spiel about him needing to grow up and take responsibility, especially now that he was a dad. She was pretty harsh, saying it was bad enough he had kids out of wedlock, but he could sort of fix that by marrying me instead of dragging his feet because he wasn't ready. My ex tried to argue back, saying it was totally unfair for them to corner him into marrying me just so he wouldn't be left out of the will. He was really upset, talking about how nobody ever cares if he's ready for big life events or not. He felt constantly pushed into situations he wasn't prepared for, like becoming a dad and now getting married. He said it was scary enough having kids when he wasn't sure he was ready, and now his parents were forcing him into a marriage he wasn't sure about either. So, yeah, that's the extended version. Hearing all this secretly, without him knowing I was still on the line, was a lot to process. It was clear he was feeling trapped and stressed about the whole marriage thing, and his parents weren't making it any easier by putting all that pressure on him. After discovering all this, my head was spinning. My boyfriend, the guy I was about to marry, didn't actually want to get married. He felt forced into it because he was scared of losing his inheritance. He thought we were all being super unfair to him for pushing him into this corner. And then, just like in a dramatic scene from a movie, he got so upset that he just stormed out of the room, leaving his phone behind by mistake. His parents kept talking right after he left, going on about how they thought he was being irresponsible. That's when I realized I couldn't listen anymore and hung up. I was completely shocked, frozen in place, not sure what I was supposed to do next. Finding out that the only reason my boyfriend agreed to marry me and stick around was because of his parents' threat to cut him out of the will was a massive blow. And to learn this bombshell the night before our wedding, it was too much. I couldn't wrap my head around it. For a few minutes, I just sat there trying to process everything. Up until this moment, his actions had given me no hint that he was feeling trapped. Sure, we had hit a rough patch when I first found out I was pregnant, but after we got through that, he seemed to be fully on board, being a great partner and dad to our twins. I was clueless about his real feelings. He had been putting on quite the performance, pretending to be happy and supportive. I have to admit, he was really good at it. Once the initial shock wore off, I knew I had to leave. I couldn't go through with the wedding, not with this heavy secret hanging over us. I had my kids with me, so I gathered up a few things, got them into the car, and drove off to find a hotel somewhere out of town. By the time we arrived, it was late, and the kids were understandably upset from the disruption. I did my best to calm them down and get them back to sleep. Then, with a heavy heart, I blocked my boyfriend and his whole family on my phone. I spent that entire night crying, mourning the relationship and the future I thought we had. The realization that the past year had been nothing but a lie was crushing. Finally, exhaustion took over, and I fell asleep around 4 in the morning, completely drained. The financial aspect of the wedding, the venue, the decorations, everything that had been paid for, was all covered by my ex and his wealthy parents. Considering the circumstances, I wasn't concerned about the money lost. They were the ones who wanted this wedding in the first place, so they could deal with the fallout. After all, they were the ones who had orchestrated this mess, so it was only fitting they bear the consequences of how everything unraveled. So, I was out of there faster than you can say wedding disaster. I didn't even wait to get some sleep. I grabbed my phone and sent a message to all my friends and family, telling them the wedding was off and I'd fill them in on the details later. I didn't spill any beans right then and there. I made it super clear to my crew that I didn't want them anywhere near my ex or his family. I was like, don't talk to them. Don't answer their calls. Nothing. And because my friends and family are awesome, I knew they'd listen to me, no questions asked. The day that was supposed to be my wedding day, I spent it in a hotel room, just me and my twin boys. We ate a bunch of snacks and played around, trying to make the best of a pretty lousy situation. Inside, I was a mess heartbroken and feeling all sorts of upset. But I had to keep it together for my kids. They needed me to be strong, so I put on my bravest face for them. After taking a day to just be with my boys and process everything, I decided it was time to face the music. I dropped my kids off at my parents' house for a bit and headed back to our place to pick up my things and say goodbye to that chapter of my life for good. When I saw my ex again, he was exactly how I imagined he'd be, looking all worn out, anxious, and throwing a mix of concern and panic my way. To this day, I'm not sure if he was really worried or if it was just another performance. He immediately started bombarding me with questions about where I'd been, saying he was super worried. Before I could even get a word in, he was off on a rant about how they all waited for me at the wedding venue and how what I did was totally out of line. He said I owed them an explanation and even a public apology, because apparently getting cold feet isn't a good enough reason to leave him and his family hanging. I barely reacted to his whole spiel. I just hit him with the truth, that I heard the conversation he had with his parents, the one where it all came out how he really felt about marrying me. He looked totally lost for a second, but when he realized what I was talking about, he couldn't hide the guilt. I didn't stick around to argue or listen to any excuses. I walked past him, went inside to grab my stuff, and left without looking back. There was nothing left to say. He made his choices, and now I was making mine. The whole idea of being his wife? That ship had sailed, and I wasn't about to board it again. After everything that happened, my biggest priority was just to focus on being the best mom I could be. It's almost been a whole week since the day I thought I'd get married, and since then, there's been total silence between us. I figured that was the universe's way of telling me it's over between me and him. I had nothing left to say, and I thought he felt the same. But life had another twist waiting for me. Just a couple of hours ago, out of the blue, he showed up at my parents' house, practically begging for a chance to talk to me. By this time, I had already spilled the beans to my parents and all my close friends about the mess. They all knew the gritty details, so it's no surprise they were not exactly thrilled to see him standing at the doorstep. Despite their hesitation, something in me said I should hear him out, just this once. But there was no way I was letting him inside. The twins had just drifted off to sleep, and the last thing I needed was a shouting match with him that would end up waking them. So we ended up standing in the front yard under the stars, having what felt like the most surreal conversation. He started off with an apology, trying to explain himself. He said he truly loved me and the kids, despite not feeling ready to tie the knot. He admitted everything he did and said that night was a mistake, but he still wanted to be part of our lives. Listening to him, I was torn. How could I just wipe the slate clean after he deceived me for so long? Trusting him again wasn't going to be easy, and I was drowning in doubts. Yet, part of me wondered if there was a way forward. I told him I'd need time to think about everything. He seemed to understand, saying he didn't want to break up and hoped we could find a way to start fresh without his parents' influence this time. I'm at a crossroads, unsure of what to do next. The idea of my children growing up with their dad around is important to me, but how can I move past the lies? My trust in him has been broken into pieces, and honestly, after the roller coaster of this past week, I'm just mentally and emotionally drained. I need a moment to breathe, to figure things out without any pressure. So I'm left pondering the big question. What if I decide that trying again with him isn't the right choice for me or the kids? What then? Update 1. Hey everyone, it's been a minute since my last update, huh? Life's been pretty hectic lately with work, taking care of my kids, and the whole process of moving out, so I haven't really found the time to fill you all in. First off, I've got to say, the amount of support and love I've received from all of you has been absolutely incredible. I'm seriously blown away by how kind and supportive so many of you have been, and I'm deeply grateful for every piece of advice you've shared. It's all been super helpful as I navigate through this whole situation. So, yeah, I've been talking to a lawyer about sorting out the custody for my kids. I've made the tough decision that I don't want to try fixing things with my ex. It's funny, though, how some folks decided to send me mean messages, calling me selfish for even thinking about getting back with him. That felt really harsh and quite unfair, to be honest. Look, I'm a mom, sure, but I'm also just a person. It's only been a week since that life-changing phone call, and we were together for 3 whole years. Of course, I hadn't just magically gotten over him overnight. Back then, I was caught up in all my feelings. I truly loved him, which made me think about giving it another shot. Now, though, I'm feeling a lot clearer headed, and I realize that I've got to focus on what's best for me and my little ones. Getting back with him just isn't the right move. I mean, all that hate and judgment really wasn't necessary. But then again, it's the internet. I guess I should have expected as much. I started looking for a lawyer just a couple of days after the wedding was called off. It took a bit of time to find the right one, someone I felt comfortable with and could really trust. The whole topic of custody never came up between my ex and me before all this went down. We never imagined we'd end up here, having to figure all this out. Okay, so here's the deal. Now that my ex and I have officially called it quits, I've started to think a lot about what needs to happen next, especially when it comes to my kids. The thought of someone trying to take them away from me is something I can't even bear to think about. While I'm pretty sure my ex wouldn't actually try to do something like that, I'm not so confident about his parents. They have some pretty old-fashioned views and are super strict about how things should be done in a family. I'm almost 100% sure they're not going to be okay with the idea of their son not having custody of his children. They're the type who would do just about anything to make sure things go their way. So, I'm bracing myself for whatever might come next. The last conversation I had with my ex was about 3 days ago, and since then, it's been complete silence on his end. This silence is pretty telling, to be honest. It just confirms that despite whatever he said about wanting to fix our relationship, he's not really interested in making an effort to be with me or to change his ways. If he truly meant what he said, wouldn't he have made some kind of effort to check in on me or the kids? But no, I haven't heard a peep from him. This is how I know for sure that not getting back together with him is the right decision. Trust between us has completely disappeared, and there's no way I can be with someone who doesn't genuinely want to be with me. It's clear that moving on is the best thing for me. I'm gearing up to let him know my decision soon, particularly about the custody stuff. I'm really hoping he doesn't freak out or get angry about it because dealing with a big fight over custody is the last thing I need right now. So I'm just preparing myself for that conversation, hoping it goes as smoothly as possible, but also preparing for it to possibly get a bit messy. The main thing is, I need to do what's best for my kids, and ensuring they stay with me is at the top of my list. I just want to move forward without any more unnecessary drama or complications. Update 2. Alright, so here's the thing. I finally got up the nerve to have a really important chat with my ex. I told him straight that getting back together just wasn't in the cards for us. I also mentioned that I was planning to go ahead and file for full custody of our kids. I kind of expected him to be okay with it, or at least not too upset, because he's been pretty open about not feeling ready for all the responsibilities that come with marriage and being a dad. I thought maybe he'd be somewhat relieved that I wasn't trying to force him into a situation he clearly wasn't ready for. But boy, did things not go as I expected. Instead of being understanding or even a bit grateful, he got super upset. We ended up in this big argument right there. He insisted that breaking up with him was one thing, but taking the kids away was something he couldn't stand for. Now, if we were just any normal couple, maybe his reaction would make a bit more sense. But given everything you all know about our situation, it just didn't add up. Let's not forget, this is the guy who, up until just a week ago, didn't even want to be a dad. He made it clear he wasn't ready for this kind of responsibility. Yet here he was, suddenly all about fighting for custody of our kids. It screamed that something weird was going on, probably his parents trying to call the shots from behind the scenes. The whole time we were arguing, he was freaking out, and I was there trying to get him to lower his voice because guess what? We were in the middle of a restaurant, and it was getting seriously embarrassing with all the stares we were getting. After a bit, he started to calm down, and I figured it was my chance to try and talk some sense into him. The last thing I wanted was a long, messy custody battle. Financially, I just wasn't in a place to go up against his parents and their deep pockets. They could afford top-notch lawyers that could drag this thing out forever. And even putting money aside, I was just too drained to even think about going through with that kind of fight. I knew his parents had the means to make this difficult for me, even if I felt I was in the right. So I did my best to reason with him. I reminded him that just a week ago he was saying he wasn't ready for kids. I was trying to make him see that moving forward with me having full custody was the best thing for everyone, especially given how he felt not too long ago. It was a tough conversation, trying to get him to see my point of view without things escalating again. I just hoped he'd see reason and not make this harder than it needed to be. I mean, I wanted our kids to have their dad in their lives, but not like this, not with so much tension and uncertainty. So yeah, that's where I was at, trying to navigate this super tricky situation and figure out the best way forward for me and the kids. So there I was, ready to take on the full responsibility of looking after our kids all by myself. Honestly, that's exactly what I wanted from the beginning. And him? Well, he got the chance to live his life without any strings attached. No worries about being tied down by marriage or the daily duties of looking after kids. I kind of thought that's what he wanted too. So in my mind, everyone was getting what they wanted out of the deal. It seemed like the perfect plan. But then, out of nowhere, he hits me with this news that he's changed his mind. Now he says he's totally ready to be a dad. That just didn't sit right with me at all. I mean, think about it. If he spent a whole year feeling unsure about being a dad, there's just no way he could suddenly decide he's ready in just a week. It didn't make any sense. So I had to ask him straight up if he was keeping something from me because his sudden change of heart was setting off alarm bells left and right. And guess what? He finally spilled the beans. The real reason he was suddenly all about fighting for custody was because of a chat he had with his parents. Honestly, I wasn't too surprised by that. After I told him I knew the whole story and called off our wedding, he ran straight to his parents, who then told him he needed to patch things up with me, and fast. That's why, a week later, he was back, trying to convince me everything could be okay between us. His parents had finally accepted that I wasn't going to marry him. That was no longer an option. But they were totally against the idea of him not having a part in his kids' lives. They even went as far as to threaten to cut him off financially if he didn't convince me to agree to a joint custody arrangement. There he was, begging me to consider sharing custody of our kids. But hearing all this just made me feel sick. I was so over it. It was clear as day that he was only doing his parents' bidding because, in the end, what he really cared about was keeping his hands on his parents' money, not genuinely wanting to be there for me or the kids. He had shown no real interest in being a part of our lives, no real commitment to us, until it looked like he might lose out on his inheritance. And that's when he decided to play the role of the concerned dad. If the only thing motivating him was his parents' wealth, then I didn't want him anywhere near us. Our kids deserve so much more than a dad whose only interest in them is tied to money. I didn't even bother with the idea of child support because I just wanted him completely out of our lives. I wanted nothing to do with him, no connections, no reasons for him to think he had any right to be involved with me or our children anymore. So my ex, he's kind of the type who doesn't really stand up for himself, especially when it comes to his parents. It's pretty clear he'd do just about anything to make sure they don't kick him out of their lives or cut him off financially. Honestly, it's kind of sad to see. A few days have passed since all that drama, and I've gone ahead and blocked him on every possible platform because I can't stand the thought of talking to him or even seeing him pop up on my phone. The last thing he tried to tell me was this idea about sharing custody of our kids, And then he threw in this wild idea about splitting his future inheritance with me after his parents are gone. I mean, can you believe that? He's actually suggesting this ridiculous plan just to try and keep things smooth between us. It really makes me think about my judgment for getting involved with someone who's pretty much just a spoiled rich kid. I've always been the kind of person who's worked for everything I've got. My parents did their best for me, but we weren't swimming in money or anything. I had to bust my tail in school to land scholarships for college because that was the only way I could afford it. I've always had to work super hard for everything I have. And then there's my ex. He's the only child of some really wealthy parents, and I think that pretty much says it all. You probably have an idea of the type of person he is. I actually believed he was different when we started dating. He did a really good job convincing me he'd changed, but man, was I wrong. He deserves an award for his acting because he totally had me fooled for the last 3 years. Now, though, I see him for who he really is, and I've got no interest in sticking around to discover anything else about him. I'm completely done with that chapter of my life. I'm totally okay with raising my kids by myself. Having no dad around is way better than having one who doesn't even want the job. Now I'm 100% sure leaving him was the best decision. I just hope he realizes he should give up his parental rights instead of dragging us through a messy custody fight. That's what I'm praying for, at least. Update 3. Hey folks, it's been quite some time since I've popped in here with an update, and boy do I have some stories to share. Life has been nothing short of a whirlwind lately, and I've been up to my ears in all sorts of changes and adjustments. But let's dive into the good stuff that I've been eager to tell you all about. So the first big piece of news is about our living situation. Me and my little duo, my adorable twins, have made a move to a new apartment. It's definitely on the smaller side compared to the house where my ex and I used to live, but you know what? It feels like a fresh start, a place that's truly ours and not tied to past memories. It's got its own little charm, and I'm all about making it our cozy haven. Another bonus is that our new place is super close to where my parents live. This is a game changer because it means they can swing by more often to spend time with their grandkids, which they absolutely love. And let's be real, having them nearby for a bit of extra help is a blessing I can't ignore. Plus, on top of that, I've managed to hire a full-time nanny. Juggling work and twin toddlers is no small feat, so having an extra set of hands around the house has been a godsend. I consider myself incredibly lucky to be in a position where I can afford this kind of help. My folks have been pitching in financially too, for which I'm endlessly grateful. This whole scenario wasn't something any of us saw coming, but we're navigating it together, and their support means the world to me. Now, onto the juicy bit that I'm sure has piqued your curiosity, the latest on my ex. In a surprising turn of events, he's officially signed away his parental rights. I'm still trying to wrap my head around what exactly led to this decision. If I had to take a guess, I'd say he's probably had a moment of clarity and chose to stand up to his parents for once. It's a big step, and while the reasons behind it might remain a bit of a mystery, it's a significant development in our ongoing saga. So there's a chance that his parents finally decided to back off and stop pushing him. One of my buddies mentioned that he's not living at his old spot anymore, which kind of hints that he might have decided to stand up for himself and make a big change. A few days back, out of the blue, he got in touch with me again, throwing another apology my way. But this time, he threw in a curveball. He wanted to give me money, kind of like saying sorry with cash. I know some of you might think I'm off my rocker for not accepting it, but to me, it's not about the money. I was dead serious when I said I wanted him out of my life for good. Yeah, hearing him say sorry helps close a chapter, but taking money from him? That just doesn't sit right with me. I'm looking to move forward, not keep some weird financial tie to my past, especially not from an ex. I've got a strong support system with my parents. We're more than ready to tackle raising my kids without needing a single penny from him. So, I let him know through a text that I appreciate the offer, but no thanks, and it would be best if we just didn't talk anymore. Surprisingly, he's actually respected that wish up until now. These days, my life is all about my kids. They're my top priority, and I'm dedicating all my energy to making sure they have the best life possible. Holding on to any negative feelings about my ex or wasting energy being upset just isn't in the cards for me. My main mission is to be an amazing mom to my children. That's where all my focus is, and honestly, it's the only thing that really matters to me right now. Thanks for watching. Today we've got a couple of cheating stories. Let's follow along and see how they handle it. But before that, a disclaimer. Let's be clear. We're sharing this tale not for a dramatic plot twist, but as a what not to do guide. So buckle up. You critically dodge the shady characters and aim for a life that's more pizza, less heartburn. Remember, choose your faith wisely. First up, I-31 male found out my fiancée cheated during her 30 female bachelorette party planning on leaving. I don't know how to explain all this. Basically, it was snooping around last night when I saw her phone taking off. It was a message from her friends about the party. I stayed up like one of those stalkers. You see on TV and been checking the computer Facebook messages with her friends and found out she cheated during her bachelorette party by cheating. I don't mean getting a striptease or something, which I would be okay with. I understand it's a bachelorette party, but she actually gave the server some fellatio and ended up going home with another guy that night. She has this other guy added on Facebook, but the chat merely consists of "had a good time" and "it was nice to meet you" convo, which dates back to the bachelorette party. I have, however, read the messages between her and her friends. They have a small group. Found out what she'd done there. It all seems as if it was a one-time thing that happened. But I'm a freaking mess. I haven't slept all night, and she's headed for work in an hour or so when she wakes up. It's almost 6 a.m. here. I don't know what the F to do. We're supposedly getting married in 3 weeks. I'm thinking of simply packing all my bags after she's going to work and just leaving the flat. It's her family's flat. Anyway, we were planning on buying a friggin' house, having kids, grown old. I feel like I want to throw it all out of the window. I'm sitting here smelling like alcohol, feeling drunk and depressed. I don't know why, but I'm more of an angry depressed than sad. Depressed? I haven't cried since I found out about all this. Should I confront her? Should I just get out? Should I hear her side of the story? Honestly, I want to just go and stomp her freaking face in right now. But I don't want to do something rational. I think he means irrational. Please help. Update 1: I basically left in the morning to take a smoke. My head was still messed up, but reading all the comments on Reddit helped me. I can't remember who, but there was one guy who said, "The positive thing about all of this is that I found out before I got married with no children or attachments." I still don't think she cheated, other than this night. Nothing I found indicated anything else. I guess she wanted this to be her last night before settling down on something. I honestly don't know and don't care. When I was outside taking a smoke about 15 to 20 minutes or something after I left Reddit, she had woken up. She noticed the drinks out and asked me what I had been up to. Basically came to give me a kiss and a hug. I followed through with it, but honestly felt empty doing it. I didn't want to give her any hint of what I knew. She asked me why I had been drinking and why I didn't come to sleep last night, and I told her I was just having some nightmares, but everything was fine. I felt detached, like I was watching myself in third person through a TV or something. She asked me if any stress was related to the marriage and the plans. I just told her something along the lines of, "I love you. There's no stress I have for the marriage." How can you be stressed about the best thing in your life? She got herself done and left for work. I basically started packing my most important things, my desktop computer, most clothes, and some other things I planned on leaving, like the furniture, TV, and other things I really don't care about more than getting the F out. I just took the stuff most important to me so that I don't have to return here again. I don't care if she gets the rest. All in all, my staff added up to about 3 or 4 suitcases. I would say desktop not included in this. I call and cancel the venue. We were supposed to be having the wedding yet. Apparently they take 15% of the money for canceling so early on because we were having such a big event. I told them, it's fine. I know I really don't care at this point. I also saved screenshots of everything and have taken them with me around 1 p.m. I called a taxi and went to stay at a hotel around 100 kilometers far from my city. I didn't leave any note or pictures at home. I just left. I'm planning on leaving to stay with a really, really close friend who lives in a town about 300 kilometers away. But I just needed alone time in a hotel for some time to think everything through and process. What's happened? Around 3:30 p.m., my phone starts getting spammed with calls from my ex-fiancée. Around 350, I started getting calls and messages from her sister, her friends, her parents, my parents, and a few of our mutual friends. The only person I called back was my dad. Mom. I have a huge trust for my parents. I basically spilled the beans and told them a nicer story about what happened. I asked my dad to not say anything, and also asked my mother not to say anything. I told them it's ended, and that I won't be getting married no more. I also told them not to tell anyone about what I told them. I trust them a lot, so I'm sure they won't say anything. I didn't tell them exactly what happened, just that I found out she wasn't being loyal to me. I didn't think giving details would help in any way. Around 5 p.m., my dad calls me back and is telling me my ex-fiancée is completely hysterical and has basically broken down completely, not understanding what is going on. I just told my dad not to intervene and that I need some alone time now. I basically shut my phone down and have been staying silent ever since. Like a ghost. Been sleeping for a little. Went to the pool here at the hotel, and it's just been taking it easy. I don't know if I should respond to them now or wait some more. Her sister knew about what happened at the bachelorette party. I have the tests to prove it. She even laughed about it and told her not to feel guilty because it's her bachelorette, and the women should go all in on this night. I am seriously considering replying with the sister with just an image of the conversation where she is telling her this. Once again, thank you to everyone who replied. I will update this post one or two more times and then perhaps go silent for a while. I know you are only allowed to do one update on the relationship section. I hope this post won't get close. Still don't know why the last one did. Time here is 10 p.m. soon. Update 2. Yesterday I was having my phone spammed by many family members from her side and friends. The only person I responded to was the sister with part of the conversation where she and the sister talked about it all. I did not include anything in the response except an image of the conversation, and the sister went pretty much silent after that until later during the day. I contacted the co-owner of my business and let him know the full story. He told me to take as much time as I need and even advised me to head off to a vacation. This guy is a childhood friend of mine. I don't trust anyone as much as him. My plans have changed a bit. I'm still staying at this hotel for another few days and then perhaps moving on to the friend I was supposed to go to. I call him up and let him know I want to head off somewhere. Perhaps a trip to somewhere nice, another country or something. It's all still not yet. 100% decided, but I know I will be leaving for somewhere. He said he would be up for joining me if it could be during the upcoming week since he is still on holiday from his work. We will see how that turns out. Later in the day, I responded to my wife. The calls kept coming in less frequently since I sent that message to her sister. I had this gut feeling she was going to come with an excuse of some sort. I picked up the phone, and the first thing I hear is a torn-up voice, if you can say that in English. I could hear she had been crying all day and was in a messed-up state. She kept begging me to come back, that there was an explanation to everything, and that she loves me. She misunderstood the entire situation. I could hear the sister and someone else in the background. Don't know who the other person was. Maybe her friend. Anyway, I told her to explain it to me right then and there. She said because I only saw a small part of the conversation. It's all been misunderstood that I should come back home, that she loves me. And then I have taken a rational decision to leave without a real reason. During the entire conversation, I was just giving really short, empty answers in a cold way. Like, yeah, okay, what? Explain it to me. After she told me it's all a misunderstanding, I told her to call me back in 10 minutes and to check Messenger. After I hung up, I sent her the entire conversation, log with a ton of screenshots. Not all of them, but most of the important ones. It didn't take 2 minutes for her to call back, crying hysterically, saying sorry for everything, saying she wants to die rather than to lose me. She said she was forced by her friends and sister to have fun one last time, that she needed to let all the energy out before stepping into a marriage for life. I was just quiet during most of it. The more I didn't talk and just said, okay. The more she was crying, she started telling me I can fool around with other women if I want to get back at her, or that she will tell everyone about what she did, so I can take her back, that she will do anything it takes for me to come back, and that this was a mistake of her life and that she hates her sister and friends for this. I told her screwing around with other women was not something I needed because the moment I met her and started loving her, she was the only woman I needed. I didn't need to meet or sleep with someone to know. The best thing in my life was waiting at home. The sister was telling her stuff in the background, but I couldn't hear. I don't know what the sister was telling her, or if she was getting angry at her or something. She kept begging me, and I just told her if she comes clean to her parents and family, I will think about it. After that, she started saying something, but I just hung up for like half an hour. My phone goes silent without much response, and her father calls me up and apologizes for everything. He and his wife know what happened now, and he is so sorry for all of this. He told me he understands how I feel and that he didn't raise his daughter to do this. He said he understands if I don't want to see her again, but that I will always be welcome to him and that I am a good guy. His wife basically then steals the phone from him and tells me she did a mistake and she regrets it and it will never happen again and that we can move forward from this. She tells me her daughter has never been this destroyed before. I politely tell her I appreciate her opinion, and then I say I have to go and goodbye. My ex-fiancé calls me back and begs me again, saying she told her parents, and also sent a text message to her friends, our mutual friends, about what had happened. She then keeps crying, asking me when I will come back to speak with her, and says we can even go to counseling and that she will pay for everything. She kept apologizing and apologizing on the phone, and I didn't say much. After some time, I just told her not to cry, that she shouldn't be apologizing because single women like herself are allowed to do these things, and I hope she finds Mr. Right. She starts crying even harder, and her sister takes the phone and says sorry, and tells me everything can be fixed, and that I said I would take her back now that she told everyone what she did. I told the sister I only said I would think about it, and now I have realized I dodged a bullet and wish her and her sister the best. She then tells me her sister is turning suicidal from all of this and that this is going to lead into a depression that can take her life. The only thing I said after she told me that was, "It's a good thing you were close to her, so you can make sure she doesn't kill herself, then maybe take her to a doctor or something." After this, I just hung up. My phone has been blowing up with messages from mutual friends, her sister saying sorry and basically begging me to come back. I don't plan on responding. I honestly feel a lot better right now. Like I can move on. I'm going to be on vacation this upcoming week. I think if something more happens, I will update this post. Final update. Well, me and my friend flew off on a vacation that he paid for the entire time. He was comforting me, telling me the positives of the entire situation, but I was going down in a bit of my mood again, getting lost in my own thoughts. It's hard to explain, but imagine thinking that you feel good, but in reality, you're not feeling good. Like I am conflicted about how I feel. Not a lot happened the first 2 nights we went to the city and just enjoyed life in general. Had dinners out, saw some sights, and did more or less normal stuff that you do on a vacation. He wanted to go out to party that first night and head off to the club, but I didn't feel like it. I can't really explain why, but I was just down in general. I sort of feeling like I lost a big part of my life and that everything was going to go to hell. I started feeling like I would never meet a woman like her again, and I will be lonely for the rest of my life. I don't know why I was feeling like this because a few days before I was feeling just fine. My friend kept cheering me up, but it wasn't really working. I told him to go to the party and I would join him in the next few days, but that I really didn't feel I wanted to do it right now. I said I was really sorry, but he kept reassuring me it was okay, and then he understands. Midway through the trip, I was having my ups and downs, but I really think I held that most of what happened. I don't feel any attachment to her, nor do I even care about what happens to her. I got back a few days ago and I have found out she has tried to contact my family, and I have also heard through a mutual friend. She is doing really bad, like really bad. As much as I hate her and everything, I feel neutral to this. No resentment to her, no hatred. I don't want bad for her. But I also don't care what happens to her. I don't know what more to say or what to write. I just want to move on with my life at this point, and hopefully only good will come from here. I know she wants to contact me. My dad told me she just wanted to speak to me once more for closure, whatever that means. I don't think I want to do it. But at the same time, even if I did it, I don't think I would feel anything. Wow. Stone cold, man. Moving on. She 33 female cheated, I 32 male left, but she's not letting go. Okay, I've been with my ex-girlfriend Vanessa for the past 5 years. We met at a convention for one of our hobbies and just started talking about the hobby itself. With no other goal in mind, we started dating when she confessed that she liked me as more than a friend, and it was mutual. I just kept quiet because I didn't really want to ruin the friendship, and I wasn't really expecting her to be interested in me. Dated for about 2 years, steadily before we moved in together. Our families meshed well together, our friends mingled, and we all became one big mixed social circle. This was a surprise because we both come from very different financial backgrounds. Me being raised in a poor middle class kind of finances, Vanessa and her friends and family being really, really rich. Everything was great for the past 3 years, except when she cheated. Vanessa cheated on me with some random guy. I don't even honestly know why, nor do I really care to find out. I found out a month ago because I took her phone to call up a friend since mine was inoperable at the time. First thing I saw when I locked her phone was a message popping up about how some guy loved that ass pouncing on him the day before. I'll spare you the emotional turmoil I briefly went through, and I'll admit I just put the phone down. Told her I was leaving without telling why, and I could see she was confused about me just going out like that. I just didn't want to do something I'd regret because I did have anger issues in the past, but have mostly worked past those. She probably found out I saw the message, but since my phone was still in the apartment, there was no way to get in touch with me. I literally just walked around the city for hours until I was so tired that it felt like falling asleep at my feet. I went over to a friend's place, stayed with them over the night and the day after I got over to our apartment and talked it out with Vanessa. I told her I wasn't going to be in a relationship with a cheater, and that was that. I didn't ask for details how it happened, who exactly the other guy was. I just wanted to go away from it all. She wasn't looking to oblige me, crying hysterically, blaming herself, hitting herself in the head because she was, and I quote, a stupid, cheating C-word, begging me not to go, that she would do anything to try and fix this. The whole thing just made me even more uncomfortable to be around her. And there was a scene in front of our apartment when our neighbors came out to see what the noise was about. I did manage to get away, but it was unnecessarily complicated with drama. She made her choice to sleep with someone else. I made mine to break up because I don't want to be with a cheater. I managed to take away most of my things from the apartment when she wasn't there and hoped that would be that. But if it was, I wouldn't be here now. I mentioned before that Vanessa and her family are rich. She's now using her, and I presume her family's money, and not giving me a single day of some kind of reminder of her. Either I'm getting gifts sent my way at my workplace, or I'm getting letters in the mail and packages, or she just hangs out with one friend of hers somewhere where she knows I am. I have no idea how she knows. And this is making me feel paranoid because I keep thinking she might have someone following me trying to get me to talk with her. I have tried talking with local police on the matter, but have been told in not so many words that her family would make sure nothing would be done about it. Props to the cop for being honest about it, but they could do their job instead. I want to heal. I want to move on, but she's not letting me, and I don't have enough money to just move away somewhere else. She's already blocked or ignored on every possible media I have, but strangely enough, she's not trying to get me through them anyway. Friends, on the other hand, are every friend she's got, and she has plenty. Has asked me to just meet up with her here or out or something else like that. But I'm so tired of that. I'm tired of this kind of crap. I just want it over with. I don't want to hear her speak. I don't want to see her. It won't do me any good. How do I move on from someone who won't let me and who has absolutely both the time and money to keep doing it indefinitely? Do I give her that one meeting she wants from me? Would that even help? I'm not from the USA or some other first world country, so I pretty much have no legal recourse. Update. In the end, I set up a meeting with my ex's mother, whom I mentioned in one of my posts when I was replying to people about this whole thing. It was roughly a week after I'd made my previous post. She knew why we were broken up and completely backed up. My decision to break up with her daughter. How much it hurt me. It meant a lot to me, and I guess I never really appreciated her mom being so friendly with me while we were together. I explained to her what had been going on since the breakup. She only knew that the ex was trying to get back together with me, but she didn't know about her showing up at any place. I went out, her friends badgering me or the letters and gifts being sent my way constantly. I came close to tearing up because of how much support she showed me at the time. At one point, she even hugged me and kissed the top of my head like I was a little kid again. I felt both embarrassed and grateful. I just wanted space and time to heal from this crap, and I think she understood as much. All in all, after we got that out in the open, she promised me she would get her daughter back into line to leave me alone and stop harassing me. We talked a bit some more after that, but when? Her own way. Soon after, the ex's harassment continued for a day or two, and then it completely stopped. No messages, no calls, no sudden appearances where I was hanging out or anything. 3 weeks out and nothing from her. So far, it's been bliss. It's like this huge weight just rolled straight off me. It's easier to breathe, and I'm not even looking at the door of some place I'm hanging out at to see if it's the ex or one of her friends. I didn't even notice that myself. My friends were the ones who brought it up to me. So yeah, this is 1,000 times better than what it was like before. I didn't talk with my ex, his mom, one more time over the phone, and I thanked her for whatever she did with her daughter, and she was saying it was the least she could do. Near the end of the conversation, she said it would probably be for the best if we didn't speak anymore. It would let me fully move on from this. But she was sorry it had come to this. And that day, her and her husband wouldn't see me coming over for Christmas. We said our goodbyes, and that was that. So that's it. The harassment stopped. I'm feeling great, and life's really looking better nowadays. One more time, thank you all guys and gals for trying to help me out from this crap pile I found myself in.